Hello all, I'm still watching Secret Invasion and this is my review of episode 4. I'd say on balance it's better and there are a couple of actually really good scenes, but as usual it's all really quite contrived. The moments that are supposed to shock are obvious and telegraphed, and the use of the Skrulls, the shape-shifting aliens, is so unimaginative. Gravik's plans are just so dumb and lightweight and basic. But I'll get straight into the episode because it's just going to be easier to do the proper review whilst going through it. One of the shocks here because, wow, Gaia used Extremis and now she's survived. I'm torn on this one because I don't feel like it was really set up, but it kind of was. It felt very much like it was plucked out of the air. Apparently when she was finding the commander's code, she read the mind of the scientist, or she looked into the scientist's mind or something. I don't know, I didn't know Skrulls could do that. And decided to give herself Extremis. At what point in this program she did that, I don't know. Why the scientist would know that, given that it's a Skrull doing it, again, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Now this is the first of the quite nice scenes. It's a flashback to 2012 between Nick Fury and his wife, and they meet in Paris. And she's not his wife at this point. And she's actually complimenting him. It's quite remarkable. It's one of the first times this show has actually said anything particularly positive about Fury. Although there's a nice subtle dig within there about how he's failed to find a home for the Skrulls. Surprisingly a nice bit of writing. There's some nice back and forth, and then he asks her what she's reading, and she's reading a poem by Raymond Carver. And this is a connected thread to a later scene as she recites it to him. Fast forward to the now. She is sitting in a church, as advised to go to at the end of the last episode, and it's kind of framed like that was a memory for her. And another shock moment, Rhodey turns up because, as I said in an earlier episode, he wasn't acting like Rhodey, so it was likely he was a Skrull. And shocker, he's a Skrull. Also, a few people have said that the voice on the end of the phone sounded like Rhodey. I didn't notice that, but fair enough. So not a shock. He wants her to kill Nick Fury. Now I don't know why, because Gravik wanted Fury alive. So that doesn't make much sense, but hey, I guess people change their minds. I don't know. She tries to persuade him that it's not necessary, that Fury's a broken waste of a man. Clearly she's trying to save his life. That's the whole point of what she's saying, which again is quite a nice scene, but the scene's still flat. And I think it's because of Don Cheadle, because there's another scene later on that is equally flat with him in it. Actually, there's several. Turns out that Fury is listening in on this, so he knows what's going to happen. Rhodey basically tells her that if she doesn't kill him, then she'll die. Quick scene of Gravik arriving with troops in the UK saying we're going to pretend to be Russian for an attack. Next scene is Gaia and Talos talking, and Talos's plan is incredibly dumb and naive, and he just looks like a stupid old man in this scene. And Emilia Clarke does some of her painted Roger Moore eyebrow acting. She realises he's got no plan and walks away. And then we come on to the second nice scene, and this one was quite emotional as well. It actually got me in the feels. Fury's wife comes home. Sorry, I don't have a clue what her name is. I probably should find out. Realises he's home and not wearing his ring. They sit down for a cup of tea, and both know that the other knows, and are both dancing around the subject. Some nice interaction in this scene, some nice double talk. Fury then puts his gun on the table and she does the same. He asks her why she chose that face. She goes through the story and admits she chose it to get under his defences. So kind of referencing some of the stuff that felt wonky to me, and more of that is actually addressed. And this is where the connectivity comes in, because the poem read earlier, they actually recite to each other, because the poem was like a conversation. And this is quite an emotional scene because the tragedy inherent in it is palpable. And at the last word of the poem, both of them draw their guns. The camera immediately moves to another part of the house as the shots ring out. When it comes back, they both intentionally missed. He tells her they'll come for her, she says she can hide, and asks if he'd love her in her true face. And he responds, I guess we'll never know. Well, we do, because she's always looked like this whenever you've been around her. So, again, addressing the weirdness, but not really resolving it. Now, there's a similar kind of scene with Rhodey next, where Fury breaks into his hotel room. And this is, again, supposed to be them dancing around each other. Fury knows what's going on. Rhodey doesn't know, he thinks he's got the upper hand. Turns out he's a female Skrull. And there's some back and forth, but again, it just feels really flat, and I just don't know whether Don Cheadle really is the weak link in this. Fury's put a liquid tracker in his drink. Rhodey shows him a video of Gravik disguised as him shooting Maria Hill and tells him he needs to keep quiet about the aliens or this goes out. So if Fury didn't already know, then that makes it blindingly obvious that Rhodey's a Skrull. It's a bit vague here as to whether Rhodey knows he knows. It still feels like he's trying to shut Fury up. So that scene was really quite clunky, especially compared to the previous scene, which had a lot more heart to it. And probably one of the most surprising things of the show so far, that these writers could actually manage to create a scene like that. They follow Rhodey where he goes to get the president, because apparently the president's turning up. I might have missed something, but I don't remember everyone mentioning that the American president was turning up. There's a clunky attempt at humour, and Gravik attacks the convoy, because apparently that's what he was going to do, because I don't know why. His plans are so dumb. There's no subtlety or nuance to them. It's just like a hammer to a nut. Anyway, they pretend to be Russians. And you can tell they're pretending to be Russians because the Secret Service men keep shouting, "It's the Russians." The action scene's not that well directed. It's a bit chaotic. It's okay. Wasn't particularly thrilling, I didn't think, but it's okay. Fury and Talos turn up. The president's car was hit and overturned during the attack. They run into the firefight just as backup turns up, and they guide them to the president's car. Talos is trying to smash the car window to get the president out. He gets shot, and he's still trying to break the glass, but he can't hold his form properly and starts reverting to his true form. One of the soldiers sees it, comments, and Fury says, "No, he's with me." Talos breaks the glass. They get the president out. Fury runs with him to the car. Well, I say runs. You can really tell how old Samuel L. Jackson is in this scene. The soldier who saw him previously picks him up, walks him to the car. Fury sees him, pulls a gun because he realises it's not the soldier. Shoots him, he turns into Gravik, and he kills Talos. Fury shoots some more, realises he's got extremis. For some reason at this point, Gravik runs away. I don't know why. Fury gets in the car because the gunfight is still going on and leaves Talos dead in the road. I'm guessing that's why they didn't end the previous episode with Gaia dead in the road. Although technically you just literally repeated the same ending. Although in this case, I'm presuming this one's dead. So the earlier flat scene between Gaia and Talos is all about guilting her. The last thing I said to my father was unkind, all that sort of stuff. And I imagine his sacrifice will make what he wants come to pass. Again, I might be wrong. They might be being surprising and unpredictable. They've not managed it so far, but you never know. I forgot to mention that Gravik showed his powers, which kind of once again gives away the fact that you're probably not Russians. Added to that, there's a lot of Skrulls dying, so unless they're going to be picking up all the bodies in the middle of a firefight, I'm pretty sure people will figure out quite quickly that they're not Russians. See what I mean about dumb plans? Literally is just so basic. You are shape-shifting aliens. You could be manipulating behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean, people might think that's dull, but that would be more interesting. That would have more suspense. That would have more of that paranoia I keep talking about. Who is who? Who is what? But in this, it's kind of obvious who is a Skrull and who isn't a Skrull half the time. Because A, either they telegraph it, or B, they literally show it. Anyway, it was a much shorter episode this time. And better, probably because it was shorter. Maybe it was because there was a bit of action. But I think it was those two scenes between Fury and his wife. I just thought they were really well acted and well written, actually. Surprising for me to say that considering what else I'm saying, but maybe that's the lane the writers should be in. Maybe that's the stuff they're good at, and they're not good at the espionage level of it. A half step up, but a half step up from the basement of the basement is still the basement of the basement. I do sometimes begin to wonder if anyone's watching this, so if you are and you've got your own opinions, I'd be interested to know. I've noticed many of the articles out there on, say, Facebook get very little response from people, so I think I might be in the minority. So I should say thank you very much for listening to this, because you are also clearly in the minority. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and peace out.